Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our daily podcast. From Mel is on tomorrow with our lovely Talia, who is one of our Facebook ads coaches and a bit of an expert in that area. And from next week, we'll be going live every Wednesday on Australian time and Tuesdays in the USA. But for today, I'm lucky to have the amazing Leanne Berry, who I've had the privilege of knowing for about as long as I think Mel and myself when I went to Australia back in 2011. And Leanne has always run a company called Love Your Numbers and is now also working with MYOB in Australia. So let's welcome her in and we'll get chatting. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm amazing. It's a beautiful, stormy, freezing spring storm day here in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's a bit overcast and stormy here in Bathurst too, Anna.
Yeah, well, you guys get kind of, similar temperatures to us, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we can always chat about the weather and it's pretty similar.
Oh, my goodness, we've had literally snow and hail and everything yesterday. So the skiers are happy, the farmers are not happy because all the lambs are coming.
Yes.
But it was, we knew it would come. So it's great. And it's so awesome to have you here with me. And I do believe we met back in probably 2011, 2012-ish.
Yeah, I think it was 2011, 2012. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while. 10-year anniversary, darling.
I know. Oh, that's great.
And today is Are You Okay Day, Anna. So are you okay?
I'm doing okay. I have had some ups and downs, especially with New Zealand being in lockdown for the last few weeks. Feeling also and that's it's a really interesting one because on one hand, we shut down so quickly and we get control of things so quickly that you kind of feel bad because it does happen quickly when you watch people and friends in other places that it's not. Yeah. And it's such a conflict. So I'm so grateful on one hand and I feel really bad on the other hand when I'm having a down day and going, this sucks.
Yeah, buck yourself up, but everybody else is worse kind of thing. And giving yourself permission to feel that way, I think, is really important. I've felt a bit the same way. I mean, here in Bathurst, apart from a lockdown early last year when COVID, basically hit in March, April last year, we've been really lucky in regional New South Wales. And then we've now been in lockdown. I think this is week 9 that we've been in lockdown. And, you looked at places like Victoria that have been in lockdown for almost, 3/4 of the year. And I have a down day and go, well, it's not as bad as someone in Victoria. And then I think, no, back up, Leanne. You're allowed to feel a bit like this. It's everybody is feeling it differently, and you need to understand and recognise that you are having a bad day, or your feelings are, you're feeling moody, or you're down, or you're snapping at family, or whatever it might be, and just pause and recognise those signs, and then go, what can I do to make myself feel better? Whether it's going out for your drink, going and standing in the grass and absorbing some sunshine, or because you're limited to the 4 walls of your home prison kind of thing. Exactly. Or, just doing something like going and having a bath, or listening to some music, or dancing it out in the bathroom, that kind of thing. So it's really important to recognise that and not make yourself feel bad for feeling bad.
That is so true. And I think there's a resilience that we're all building through this time as well, as running businesses, our personal life, the change, the disruption to our routines. And we might have built up resilience to it last year, but then this year kind of feels different because we don't know, is this going to happen again? And you kind of, what is it called? I read something on it the other day that someone put out, and it was really interesting because they were talking about it's like fatigue. Of it all. We just want that normality to come back for us. Yeah.
But the problem is, we keep saying go back to normal, and I think that's a really bad terminology to use. So we need to be looking forward. So always looking forward, not going back to normal, because I don't think in a lot of ways things are going to be normal ever again. It's also about uncertainty, because we're not very good at being uncertain. We like to know what's coming. I remember after my husband died, I was seeing a grief counsellor, and one thing I used to come away from there going, I don't know why I'm doing this, because I feel so bad when I come away. I used to cry all the way from Orange back to Bathurst, that sort of thing. But one thing that I took away from my sessions with her was always have something in your diary to look forward to. So Ian died in 2012, and for 9 years I've always had things in my diary to look forward to, and you've been a part of a lot of those as well. And it's it's really interesting. And at the moment I've got nothing to look forward to in my diary, and that's it's very uncertain. I've had to cancel a whole lot of events. And joining MYOB, we had events around Australia that we were doing, and we've had to cancel those and pivot. But I think from probably mid-January to about the end of June, I'll be on a plane constantly. Everything, looking forward. If we reach these numbers and we open up and we start to look at how we live in this new world, then I think it's going to be a busy year next year, hopefully.
That's exciting, and some normality. Like, I know I was so lucky this year that Mel literally just said, the borders are opening, get on that plane. First flight out of New Zealand to Australia, 2.5 weeks, getting to see everybody and just spend time with
me.
It was a little bit rushed and hectic, but I just feel so lucky that I got that.
Yeah, well, I was so lucky. Before COVID even hit last year, I had an amazing 6 weeks in Europe and ticked off my major bucket list, cruising up to the top of Norway and photographing the Northern Lights. And we were the last ship out of Norway before they closed the borders. And I flew out of Heathrow on the Friday night and landed back in Perth on the Saturday night, landed back in Perth on the Sunday morning, and that was when ScoMo announced the isolation for international travellers. So I flew out of London and everything was right, and felt like I woke up in Perth and was in a different world. And had to come home and isolate for 2 weeks and all of that sort of thing. So that was the start of it. But I was so blessed to get that, because the next 6 months helping bookkeepers around Australia as part of the ICB team was just full on. I don't think I've ever worked so hard in all my life, actually.
I know. And I remember that with us last year too, was just supporting people through. And I was talking to Jane yesterday, who she runs a bookkeeping business in South Australia, and she literally, as soon as everything hit, all of her clients said, just put a hold.
Wow. We
don't know what's going to happen. But she's grown her business. She's 4 times her business in the last year through that as well. So it's amazing watching that evolution and businesses pivoting. And you would be in an interesting space. And we were talking about this before about businesses pivoting. So it'd be great to hear from your side what you're seeing.
Yeah, look, all through this, personally for me, it's been an absolute privilege to be able to support my clients and bookkeepers. I've felt very privileged to be in the position that I've been in, to be able to understand legislation, absorb legislation, and with Matthew Addison's help, interpret that legislation and provide tools and resources and information to bookkeepers around Australia. And that, to me, I think that will always be, although it was such a tough period, it will be a highlight of my career, being able to do that, because, it was such an uncertain time, and, so many people were struggling, and they still are, even with, the New South Wales grants and things like that. That privilege to be able to support people is something, and whether you get a thank you or not, that you've been able to impact and make a difference in somebody's life, whether that be a bookkeeper or one of my clients. But what I've found interesting with my clients is that they've actually looked at what they can do to pivot their business. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So it's been quite interesting to watch not only small business and clients, but also big business pivot to e-commerce, online deliveries, looking at how they can get contact with their customers in different ways. People that have never used social media in their lives, doing all these amazing things with live streaming and Facebook Lives, and connecting with their community and making their community feel really good. And it's interesting to watch all these different methods and the innovation of individuals to try and keep themselves, their families, afloat in a lot of way, and their businesses and their employees. And I think that's been tough. Some of my clients that had large employee bases, they're not thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their employees and their employees' families all the time. And they think about themselves last. And that's really interesting to watch how small business just becomes that thread that holds communities together, and whether that's something that you see regionally more than, and I don't think it would be, but it's a really interesting thing to watch communities come together and as you said, build resilience and tackle these problems and help each other out. Even to posts on Facebook where people are putting up, I just received this Cadbury's chocolate bar in the mail with and it didn't have a note who was the anonymous person that did that. You know what I mean? It's just they're little things that can impact. And if you can do with Are You Okay Day, if you can do one thing to impact somebody's life, then that's a good day.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I know here, like I've been looking for ways and means to support businesses because I work from home. I live at home. I'm in a small town in New Zealand. It's very community based. And I was like, what are some things I can do to help businesses? And whether it's just sharing a post, sharing one of their posts, taking a selfie and putting on your Insta story. One of my favorite cafes ran a competition. So everybody who went and got a coffee and took a photo and snapped it and shared it in the silliest face, someone won a $60 voucher to go and have lunch or breakfast there when things got normal. And so just sharing those little bits or like I brought myself flowers for my birthday. So supported a local business. I popped into another one and shopped through the window and purchased some new vases for some of my plants. Just little, it might seem small, but if everybody does something small, it just keeps these guys afloat.
Absolutely. And it's impact, it really is impact. And it's not just about, so often if we're on social media, we'll like something and move on. But like something, stop and put a comment on. Think about the impact that can have for somebody, a small business that struggled, that has taken time to create a post and put something out there for their community and sits there and there's no comment on it. So just put a comment, just say hi, just say love the post or love the photo or something like that. And, that can go a long way to just making a change in someone's day, or creating that conversation and giving people permission to just have a chat, that sort of thing. It's all about connection. And I think we are struggling with connection and what we can do to create and keep that connection going. I mean, the four of us, had a wild night the other night, an hour of drinks and just sat and chatted in our yoga gear and stuff like that. But after that, I felt really good.
Same.
Little things make big impact.
They do. And we were talking about this before. There's a girl that I talked to on social, on Instagram, and now we have never met in person. And she sent me a birthday present and a card. And she did confess that she ate the chocolate that she had to send to me. And I thanked her for that, which was great.
Oh, yes, lovely.
Yeah. And there's another girl who has reached out to me as well. And she's like, I really love what you post. Do you want to be on my podcast? And I said, fantastic. I'd love to be on your podcast. So, and that's about adventure and, going
right up your alley. You've got some stories to tell there, darling.
Just a few, and a few more to come.
Look.
So
over the last 18 months, I have been just so proud of our community, our profession, and the way that they have just accepted every challenge that's been thrown at them and done it with grace and dignity, and generally, in so many cases, no income from it, just doing it because they have this great desire to help their clients. And I think that's just, our community. When I look at professional communities in Australia, I think our bookkeeping community stands high and proud as one of the most sharing and caring professions.
I couldn't agree more. It's, and from my experience being involved in it over the last 10 years, just seeing the connection that everybody has and the support that everybody wants to give each other. There's none of that competitiveness or tall poppy syndrome or someone's better than others, or if that happens, it does sort of get stamped out quite quickly. And you see that at the events that you go to, everybody's very collaborative and and I see that in our communities. Somebody pops up a question, so many people will answer.
Absolutely. Raise up, not
Yeah.
put down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is so much easier. You see that analogy so often of people, it's so much easier to pull someone down to your level, but
Absolutely. Yep.
do
But
so
we
much
raise up.
by pulling them up and helping them up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
We raise them up really well. And I love being in this community and in this profession. I think it's just wonderful. Even though I fell into it in the beginning, it's been such an important part of my career. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your backstory and what's led you through the journey to where you are now at MYOB.
So, God, how far back do you want to go? So, probably the start of my career into bookkeeping was I worked for the Business Enterprise Centre network of New South Wales. And I was very, very fortunate to have a wonderful female mentor, a lady by the name of Jenny Ollerman, who was the executive officer of the Lithgow BEC. And she saw something in me. I had Brodie, my daughter, and I was 18 months at home with Brodie and decided that I really needed some more activity in my life. I'm not someone that can just sit. So, I needed to be challenged again, and I applied for this job and basically got the job of being a business consultant and office manager with the Lithgow BEC, and worked with Jenny. And she was just the most amazing, full-on, nothing could stop in her way. If she wanted to get, $1,000 out of Ferrero Rocher in Lithgow, she would go down and knock on Glyco Leone's door and say, I want $1,000, that. And he would give it to her. Everybody gave Jenny what she wanted. And I learned so much about being able to make networks, connect people, look after businesses. We raised business awards in Lithgow, and I was very fortunate to be able to be a part of business awards where we had 500 people in an auditorium celebrating business in Lithgow for about 7 years. And so I got a real passion for business. I became the president of the Chamber of Commerce, was really involved in the community. Jenny left and went to Coffs Harbour, and unfortunately she only died a couple of years ago, and that was very sad because she was a really important female role model for me. And so, I was really involved in the community. And my mum and dad were very well known in the community. So mum was a primary school teacher and dad was an accountant at a small arms factory. And generally, they knew all the naughty things that I'd done before I did them because, small town gossip and all that sort of thing. But that passion for helping people was really sparked in me. So I then worked at Bathurst BEC and did a whole lot of regional economic development work with different projects. And we were fortunate enough to get federal government funding for what we called then an incubator without walls, which 12 years or 15 years ago was a virtual assistance office. And nobody, they weren't called virtual assistants. So we had 3 years of federal government funding. We went out through the central west of New South Wales and provided this virtual assistance, which included bookkeeping, phone answering, general admin, all of that sort of thing from an office in Bathurst. There was 3 staff. We had, when the funding finished, we had this client base that we were doing all these professional services for, but no more funding. And because it had been funding, the pricing model on it was quite cheap. They were paying something like $30 a week for whatever services they wanted, something like that. So I finished up with that on the Friday as the project manager of that, and on the Monday I started a business called Central West Business Assist from my kitchen table.
Amazing.
3 staff around Central West New South Wales. We kept all the clients, and I've still got probably 3 clients from that original project.
Wow, that's amazing.
Business. So so actually it's probably longer than that. It's probably 20, 25 years now because Brodie's 30. So but I did start when I was 5. I'm a very young,
very young. Very young.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I basically fell into bookkeeping from that because bookkeeping became the major thing that people wanted. And it was, this was around the time of GST. I'd been a GST field officer for the ATO and went out and did all the training of small businesses and got the $200 vouchers and all that sort of thing. And bookkeeping became that passion. So I got right into that and built a client base around the central west of New South Wales, and used to travel, out to businesses as far out as Kidal, Canowindra, all these regional little places with these amazing people doing amazing things in their communities and worldwide,
Yeah.
So, so real generalist across a whole broad base, which gave me a real bedding in small business and different industries and the unique properties of each one and stuff like that, but also gave me, because I love people and I love connecting with people, so it really fired my passion to get out of bed every day. So and then started falling into those professional networks and could see that other people needed that kind of assistance in understanding how to grow a bookkeeping business. So started to sort of display some of the knowledge that I had and share some of the knowledge that I had built up over quite a considerable number of years, and working with government, industry, at different levels in economic development and understanding those kinds of needs and community needs. So it's sort of, I've always been able to naturally share that sort of information and knowledge, which is really quite good as well.
Yeah, and so through that, obviously, your involvement with the ICB, Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, has led you into an exciting new gig with one of the big software companies.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody that knows me knows that I've always been a passionate MYOB supporter, because that was the software that I built my business on. So, I value partnership, and true partnership means that you give and take as well. So it's not just about what can you do for me and you need to support me and you need to fix this product and you need to do that. It's also about how can I help you? What can I do to you and to your community? And I saw this ad, and I was told about this ad by somebody, and I had a look at it and went, oh my gosh, that's been written for me. And I've been saying for so many years that MYOB needed to have a champion in their bookkeeping space that could help bookkeepers and help the MYOB partners. So I applied for the job and was lucky enough, and I'm in I think this is week 10.
Amazing.
Feels like longer, week 9 or 10, with MYOB as their community relation manager partners. So what we're doing, Adina Melder, who is my cohort in the space, we're re-engaging with our partner base, we're invigorating our partner base and talking to our partners to understand exactly what they need from us, but also talking to them about a partnership with MYOB. So getting their buy-in with MYOB as well, and having a true partnership where it's, we'll give you these benefits and help you and support you, but there are benefits that you need to give to us as well. And it's the true value of partnership. And in some ways, I think our profession has lost that. And I think it's probably, again, with the pressure we've been under over a long period of time and deadlines and compliance, we have this immediate expectation of everything and that what's in it for me kind of mentality, which is probably something that is a disadvantage in many ways, because we forget that people run businesses, not software. And so, if something goes wrong, we blame the company when it's a technical issue that needs to be fixed. And people that sit behind the technical are actually people with feelings as well. Exactly. And sometimes we can be quite abrupt, quite rude, quite, it's probably a feature of our profession that really quite gets me. And I'm very silent on those sort of things. If I need something fixed, I'll try and find somebody to talk to about my issue. And the other thing I try to do is try to find a solution. So there's a problem or an issue. How can I help with the solution? So this is the problem I'm having with a client's file, or this is the problem that I'm having with software. Can I work with you to get it fixed? There must be other people that are having this problem. What do we need to do to get it fixed? Rather than ranting and raving. That's probably one of the things that I see, that we need to change the way that we work in that way.
I fully agree. And having worked in another software company, or multiple, I saw that quite often. And it is kind of it's the dark side of social media. That
it is, absolutely. Yep.
That you can just put a comment out there and you don't have to worry about who is behind and who is potentially reading that, or an email or a support ticket. I remember a number of years back when I was living in Sydney. I'd gone down to the office in Melbourne, and the payroll team thanking me because I had their back. And so one of the partners, one of the bookkeepers in Australia, had really gone to town on this poor payroll support person. And I just picked up the phone and I said, what's going on? I actually talked to her and said, what's going on? Because this is not normal and you should not be treating someone this way. What's going on in your world that's how you've reacted? And and then they got an apology and a gift, and it was a massive turning point. And I think that helped that person to realize that you can't, like, we are people behind here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about respect. You know, if a client did that to you in your business, how would you feel? So sometimes I think it's better to stop, breathe, walk away from the computer. Yep. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Walk away, take a breath, get some perspective. And then what do I need to do to fix this issue? Because we're sitting at computers, we're sitting in front of screens, and we're on our mice and our keyboards, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And it's very easy to just go, right, I'm going to do something about this. Whereas if you just walk away, take that breath and come back, you do have that ability to calm your mind down, calm the stress level down that you've just felt from this issue or this problem or this thing not working for you, and coming back to it. Yeah,
well, I mean, New Zealand had this just a couple of days ago where one of our banks was down for 2 days.
Yes.
And I kept needing I had to pay for something, and I kept going to the app. I'm like, damn, it still doesn't work. I'm like, the tech guys they don't need somebody to tell them it's wrong because it's down. They know. They'll work. You got it.
What's the first thing you do when you have a power outage at home? You walk outside to see if all the lights in the other houses are on or off, unless it's during the day. Yeah. And then, these days, I mean, you have 100 people on the phone lines to the call centre going, my power's out, my power's out. Luckily today we've got systems that help us to do that. But, where it's an immediate reaction, and we just need to be mindful of what our immediate reactions are and how they affect other people. And I think because we're so ingrained in software and process and technology, we often forget the people component of that.
We really do. And sometimes it might be just a moment to tell us to go and sit down, to tell us to make a cup of tea, have a sit, take yourself away from that situation. Because I have very much structured my day. Like, I will have time away from the computer. I have a separate office. I can shut the door, all that sort of thing, so that it's not. But at the same time, your phone is always there. So you are always accessible, which is tough.
Absolutely.
But no one has ever died from. Well, there is the potential for issues with certain ones, but certain software outages in this industry it's going to have an effect, but it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not. It will come back up. It's not immediate. You're the one that is making it immediate. Unless you've got a payroll deadline that you've got 5 minutes to get the file through to the bank to get employees paid, generally in every other respect, it's not urgent. It's urgent because you've made it urgent.
And in that case, there's a flow-on effect for the fact that you've got a 5-minute deadline, and that is what are your systems? What are your processes? What are your deadlines with your client to get that information to you, so that you've got that ready a day in advance?
Yep.
Because payroll,
software is the tool we use. Yeah. Okay. People drive the process.
Yes, exactly.
So just taking that minute to think about what you're doing, I think, is really important in this space, and even more important when we're talking about Are You OK Day and things like that. And as you said, just talking to that person that had done that and saying what's going on in your life that would make you react that way, just gave them pause to think, okay. So, just doing that sort of thing is really important. And if there is somebody, I am much more a person that if I'm having problems like that, will reach out. So if I'm having a bad day, I'll reach out and talk to somebody. I won't rant about it on Facebook, that kind of thing. Reaching out and making connections is a much better way of doing that than wildly posting in social media posts, because really it doesn't achieve any aim, and sometimes can make you feel more isolated.
Yeah, that's really true. That's really true. And it doesn't actually make you feel good.
No. And generally doesn't get you the result you need anyway.
No, it doesn't.
So it's all, winning friends and influencing people is very, very important in these sorts of things, and treating people with respect.
Yeah.
Even though, you're not in front of a person, doesn't mean you can't treat them with respect through a screen as well.
Correct. And that expectation, I think, on yourself and then for your clients, on how your clients treat you, and that flow-on effect moves through. And I know with our students, a lot of them have said one of the biggest learnings that they've had is to say no.
Yes.
To have that realization of what clients to say no to.
Oh, look, when I was doing a lot of mentoring of bookkeepers around Australia and new bookkeepers around Australia, one of the things I would talk about is my journey. And my journey was, I would say yes to everybody because I was always scared about what was coming. So I was a single mum looking after a small child and trying to, get her through education and braces and sport and, holidays and all of that sort of thing. So I was always very mindful of the dollar and where the next dollar would come from. So, if a client rang, whether they were a good fit or not, I would say yes. And everybody would say, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'd go, yes, I can, because the last thing you want to do is lose a client because you say no.
Yes.
But I learned, I think I was probably 2 years into my business when one of my staff members who'd been working closely with a client and that I hadn't had many touch points with basically took the client from me. And that was a really important lesson of I need to sit and think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It was an organic and like a lot of bookkeepers, we just start and go, because it's about hitting the ground running, getting those first few clients through the door and building that momentum in your business. And it's the same across any business when you think about it. So that was a really important stop point for me to reassess what I was doing. And so I actually sat down and thought about who my staff were, who I was, who I wanted to work with, given the knowledge that I had across regional New South Wales and my local community. And I actually looked at my client base and thought, you know what, I really don't like the way that person works. I don't really want them as a client because I don't believe in them. So I started to actually grade my clients from A to D. And I disengaged with my D clients and built more of my A and B clients and put the processes in place, put the word of mouth referral processes in place with my clients to get that A and B client all the time. So when I talk to a client, and if I was in that building phase, because I'd go through building phases and reach capacity and go, right, that's enough, I don't want to manage anymore. So I actually got more business-like about my business as well. And I think that's where we need to have a focus, is understanding business and being more business-like in our businesses. So being more business-like, putting systems and strategies in place and really actually thinking about who I wanted to work with and how I wanted to work with them, and actually setting up expectation with my client. So it was really important for me to actually say, this is the way that we will work together. I expect this from you. And in turn, this is what you will receive from me. So, and educating, I was never afraid to educate my clients. So my clients, I don't own my clients' businesses. No. So if they wanted to play in software, I would teach them how to play in the software. If they wanted to do something, it was their business, I would assist them to do that. If they made a mistake in software, then they made a mistake. I identified that mistake and I educated them. So many times I saw bookkeepers that were holding on to business. And my client can't do that because they stuff it up. Well, it's your client's business. It's not yours. It's not your decision to make that. You need to be enabling your client to do that through education and support. So it's a really interesting mindset change that you have to get into when you're working with clients, that it's not your business, that you are there to provide the service, and if you're providing that service, what are the tools that you want to use, and how do you want your client engaging with you, and what are the expectations? So, and the expectations can be anything from, my hours are 9 to 5. You can send me an email at 3 a.m. in the morning if that's what you want to do, but I will not answer that within 24 hours. So I'm very much of, I will get back to you within 24 hours. Don't expect an answer straight away, because I might be doing something else, because I was always out doing things and traveling and whatever else. It's setting those expectations with clients of what the way you will work and what you do and don't tolerate can often nip a lot of those problems in the bud as well.
I couldn't agree more. And you're so right. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, and the squeaky wheel is always typically those C and D clients. Your A and B clients are typically okay, and checking in with them and making sure they're okay is so much more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I found that with mine. I loved my bookkeeping years, running the business and working and seeing breakthroughs with clients and talking with them about different softwares and things that they could do in their business to help automate and streamline. And I was the same. I was very much of the opinion of, you need to make sure that they're using the right software for them. Yeah.
It's all about enablement. And I've always, I'm a geek girl, you know that, and I've always been, my methodology is digital first.
Yeah.
So, and because as bookkeepers, we get to understand our clients, we get to understand what their business is. We're ingrained in their business, if you like.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding why you're ingrained in the business. It's not your business, but being able to use that deep understanding and that deep connection and that trust that you've built with the client to identify problems and hopefully identify, because we're in this position now where data is live and data is up to date. So we should be enabling our clients to make really well-informed decisions based on what the numbers story is telling us. So being able to, as you're going through and doing whatever processing you're doing or reporting or whatever, being able to identify where those issues may be, cash flow or process or, something not working, or really listening to what your clients are telling you and identifying those things where they say, I'm just not, or this isn't, or I'm so frustrated, or listening for those key words in the conversations that you have with them. And I'll be listening to the conversation, but also going, I know what can fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to them about that. Making notes or making those mental notes to come back and wow your clients with, how last week we talked about you saying that, paper, I just can't deal with this paper. Well, here's an app that does this. It's simple things that show value.
Yeah, so true. And show that you're thinking of them as well.
Absolutely. And it's all about listening. It's not about talking. It's all about listening to what they're saying to you or what they're doing. And it's also about watching what they do. Whether you're a generalist or a specialist in a vertical, an industry vertical or whatever, you get to understand how that industry operates and what are the best practice methods for getting to the end result for that sort of vertical. So being able to create the tools and resources that are best practice in that vertical and being able to just plug and play those solutions for clients, that sort of thing. I mean, that's where niching is just so great, because you can go so deep. But being a generalist, there are general tools that become part of your toolkit, and understanding how to plug and play those solutions is really important as well.
Oh, correct. And I've always had that philosophy and talked with the bookkeepers and accountants over the years. And even if they didn't, I think we had this conversation back in the day, even if they didn't want to look at, utilizing, say, Xero or QuickBooks or whoever it was, and very much entrenched, because 10 years ago it was all pretty much MYOB, I would just say, just have enough knowledge so that if your clients come to you, you've got enough knowledge to be able to say to them, this is why I recommend you staying with what we're doing.
Yeah. So I've got a philosophy on that called the power of 3.
Yeah.
And it goes across anything that you do. So with the power of 3, you identify 3 processes or 3 add-on solutions or 3 softwares or whatever it might be, and you understand 3 very broadly. You go deeper into 2, and number 1 is your toolkit.
Yes.
So a 3, 2, 1. So you'll often find, even though you've got a really, and I find this all the time, I've got a really great toolkit and a great knowledge across what works for different sectors, but there will be that one business or 2 businesses that work in a little bit of a different way, and you just need to tweak. And that's where the number 2 will come in. But that power of 3 is a really good philosophy in life, understanding, broadly, more deeply, and integrated. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. The power of 3.
Yeah.
That is really, really, really cool.
Yeah. You heard it first with Leanne Berry.
Wow.
It was, going across anything, and it was something that when I was mentoring bookkeepers, it was something that I would talk about, because it was, when you first start out in business, you are going for everything, you're grappling with everything, you're trying to do everything, and power of 3 comes back into that to almost focus you back. Okay, let's just look at 3 things. Let's just look at 3 of those apps in that space. Which ones do you like? Test them out. Another thing that I always do when I'm looking at any of these new things is I test it on my business. I'm the test pig. So I will apply for the app. I will read their support notes, watch their training videos, ring their support, test the solution and the impact it has on my business, because I will never refer a solution to a client unless I've tested it myself.
I love that. That is such that is such wise advice. And I will, and actually, now that I think about it, a friend of mine down here was asking about scheduling software, and I gave her 3 options to look at.
It does happen naturally when you start to do that. It just happens naturally. But even if you're doing a comparison chart, just do those 3. Where are the top 3? Look at the reviews. What can you see? You do it in life. You often do that in life and compare. So why not put that into your business model as well?
Well, that's the same if you're presenting a proposal to a client. You give them 3 options.
Absolutely.
If you're going to buy a new iPhone, they've got sort of 1, 2, 3 options.
Yep, absolutely. So, power of 3.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Oh, that is fantastic.
We did say we'd go all over the place today, Anna.
we did, and we're going well over time as well, which is great. So a couple of, we'll finish up on a couple. What was one thing that you would tell your younger self? One piece of advice.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. So just get in there and have a go. I mean, fake it till you make it has been a mantra of mine. And ask forgiveness, not permission. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
But don't be afraid to get in there and do something. You'll fail. You learn from failure.
Yeah. I think too many people would too often we are scared of failing. And there's a great Winston Churchill quote about that that's up at my CrossFit gym. That failing isn't failure.
Yeah. No. It's a learning experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is great. And being quite the technology person that you are, what could you not live without?
What could I not live without in technology? My iPhone runs my business, runs my life, so I probably couldn't live without that. My Kindle and Audible.
Yeah,
probably. They're probably 3.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a heap more, but probably I really hate to say that because, it is just we're so bound to our technology these days, but my iPhone controls my whole business.
It does.
I'm connected to my business and I can be anywhere in the world and be able to use that iPhone to run my business. And I've done that, So I was doing a payroll on another software in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean on my way to Norway last year on my iPhone.
Isn't that crazy? And yeah, and I think about starting, when I started with Mel, I was in Chile and I just had my laptop and the iPhone. Like, I've got to admit, I really like my setup I've got here now. It's a lot easier having a couple of screens, but but you make work what you need to make work at the time. Which
absolutely, definitely.
That's fantastic. Well, any last word of wisdom, anything you'd like those that are watching to know?
No, I think we go back to today being Are You OK Day. I would challenge everybody that's listening in today to reach out to one person and have a conversation. Just reach out. Don't do it through social media. Pick up the phone and have a conversation with just one person throughout the day today. You never know what impact that will have on that person.
That's so true. And I've actually taken to doing that for birthdays as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Not posting on social media or anything like that, just actually pick up the phone
and say hello. Keep that connection alive.
Yeah, or I send an SMS. Are you free for a call? And then,
absolutely. Yeah. So video. I mean, it might be a video call or something like that, but don't just ping them on social media. But actually make that connection and spend some time. Just say, "Are you okay?" and listen and listen. It will make you feel better, and you just never know the impact that could have on somebody.
Yeah, so true. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, honey, it's been lovely talking to you. I always love talking to you, Anna.
Me too. Me too. It's awesome. Oh, so grateful. And for those who are still watching, Leanne looked after all of my gear when I left Sydney and then helped me to get it back to New Zealand last year.
Absolutely. Yes, I'd go and sit in the garage and talk to Anna's suitcases.
Yeah.
Make sure they weren't feeling alone.
Exactly. I've got a lot more than that now. So
yes, you have. It's exploded, hasn't it?
It has exploded. Yes. And now
thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you and your community. So you and your Mel and your team are doing an amazing job supporting our community, and I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I love you guys and I love our community. So it's great to chat.
Same. I tried to leave the community a couple of times and I just keep coming back.
Yeah, no. You'll never leave this community, darling.
No, not anymore.
It's in your DNA now.
Exactly. Awesome. I look forward to talking to you more soon. And you too. And we will talk very soon.
Yep,
okay, bye for now, everyone.
Bye, darling.